the fear in her eyes. The sky was burning. Explosions cracked the air above the ruined city of Valthara. Smoke covered the sun. Buildings were nothing but skeletons of steel and stone. Among the rubble, a young alien girl crouched behind a broken wall. Her name was Lyra. Lyra's body shook. Her blue skin was bruised. Her shoulder was bleeding. She was alone. Her people were gone, either dead or captured. And now, the humans were here. She had always been told that humans were monsters. Cold, ruthless, killers. Her mother used to whisper stories about how they tore through planets, leaving nothing behind. If you saw one, she said, you'd never live to tell. So when Lyra heard the heavy sound of boots on the shattered ground, her heart nearly stopped. She peeked over the rubble with wide, terrified eyes. A tall human soldier was walking toward her, rifle in hand. His armor was dark gray, scratched, and dirty from battle. His helmet hid most of his face, but she could see his eyes, sharp, focused, scanning the area. She dropped back down and held her breath. Her claws dug into the dirt. Her chest hurt from fear. She whispered a prayer in her native tongue, hoping. He wouldn't see her, but it was too late. The footsteps stopped. She opened her eyes slowly and saw black boots in front of her. He was right there. The human soldier raised his weapon and aimed it at her head. Lyra froze. She couldn't run. She couldn't scream. She only closed her eyes and waited to die. But nothing happened. No sound. No pain. No burning. Carefully, she opened one eye. The gun was still in his hands, but lowered. He was staring at her, confused, curious. Then, to her shock, he slowly placed the rifle on the ground. Lyra blinked. She didn't understand. What was he doing? The soldier took off his helmet. His face was young, maybe only 25 Earth years. He had short dark hair, tired eyes, and a scar on his cheek. He reached into his backpack and pulled something out. A small silver packet. He opened it and held it out to her. Food. Lyra stared at the offer like it was a trick. But the man didn't move. He waited patiently, like he didn't want to scare her. Finally, she reached out and took it. The food was sweet, soft, warm. It tasted like nothing she had ever eaten before. Her hands were shaking as she ate, but her eyes stayed on him. The soldier slowly sat down on a rock nearby, still silent, still watching. Lyra didn't speak. She didn't know his language well, but something strange was happening. Her fear, it was changing. She looked at him, again. Why didn't he kill her? Why did he feed her? Why did he look sad? Suddenly, a sound came from the soldier's belt, a flashing light. Lyra stood up fast, panic in her chest. The human held up a hand. Calm down, his eyes seemed to say. He looked at the small device. A map. A tracker. Lyra leaned closer. There were dots moving across the screen. Red ones. 4. Coming closer. She didn't know what they were, but the soldier looked worried now. He stood up quickly, grabbed his rifle, and turned to her. He motioned for her to follow. Lyra backed away. Was this another trick? He shouted something in his language. She didn't understand the words, but the tone was clear. Run. Lyra hesitated. Then, she ran with him, through the ruins, across fallen walls, past burned vehicles and dead trees. The red dots were getting closer. Gunfire exploded behind them. The human stopped, turned, and fired back. His aim was fast and perfect. One red dot disappeared. He turned to Lyra and pointed toward a hole in the ground, an old bunker door, half open. She crawled in. He followed and sealed it shut. Darkness swallowed them. They were breathing hard. Both of them. 2 enemies now hiding in the same hole. The silence felt heavy. Lyra looked at him again. This was not the monster from the stories. He had saved her. But why? She still didn't trust him. And yet, something deep inside her had changed. The fear in her eyes was still there. But now, it had a question hiding behind it. Who are you, human? And why didn't you kill me? Trapped together. The air inside. The bunker was thick. Dust floated like fog, and the only light came from a small crack above the broken hatch. Lyra pressed her back against the cold wall. Her eyes stayed locked on the human soldier sitting across from her. He was silent, cleaning, blood off his arm. Not his blood, hers. She didn't know what to feel: fear, confusion, gratitude. One thing was clear. This was no ordinary human, and she was no longer sure if he was her enemy. Suddenly, a loud thud shook the bunker, then another. The ground rumbled, like something massive was walking above them. The human quickly stood and aimed his rifle at the ceiling. Lyra tensed. Her claws dug into the dirt floor. Another explosion shook the earth. The ceiling cracked. Rubble fell. The hatch slammed shut with a sharp clang and jammed tight. They were trapped. The soldier ran to the door, tried to lift it. Nothing moved. He tried again. Still nothing. Lyra stood quietly, staring at the old control panel beside the wall. It was dead. Burnt out, maybe decades old. He looked at her as if asking, "Do you know another way out?" She shook her head. There was none. They were stuck. Together. Hours passed. The silence was painful. Both sat against opposite walls, saying nothing. The soldier occasionally looked at his device. The dots had vanished. No rescue signals, no outside life. Only cold and silence. Then, something unexpected happened. Lyra spoke. Her voice was quiet. "Why, didn't you shoot me?" The soldier looked at her. His face didn't change. She repeated slower. "You had gun. Enemy." He replied after a moment. "You looked afraid, not dangerous." Lyra didn't believe him. "Others, not like you." He nodded. "Some aren't." "I know." She looked down. "My people say humans are destroyers." He didn't deny it. "We've done terrible things." His honesty surprised her. Then, the ground shook again. But softer this time, like something slithering beneath them. Lyra's ears perked up. She whispered, "Something is moving." The human stood quickly and turned his flashlight on. He moved through the dark tunnel at the back of the bunker. Lyra followed. They entered a deeper chamber, far older than the upper bunker. The walls were made of stone instead of steel. Strange symbols were carved into them. Her people's language, ancient and sacred. The human paused to read them. Lyra whispered, "This place is from before war." They moved forward until they reached a chamber full of bones. Alien bones. Human bones. Twisted together, as if something had fed on them. Suddenly, Lyra froze. Something was behind the stone pillars. She felt it. Heard it breathing. The human raised his rifle. Then they saw it. A long creature, jet black with glowing red veins, crawled along the ceiling. It had no face. Only teeth. Long, too many to count. A failed weapon from the early days of the war. Something humans had created and lost control of. Lyra's breath caught. "What is that?" the soldier whispered. "It's a biohunter. We made it. Then we couldn't stop it." The creature dropped to the ground. It didn't attack. It stared at them, and then it spoke. Unit A9 finally returned. Lyra looked at the soldier. He stepped back. The creature hissed. "You left us to rot, A9. You locked us in here and with the failed ones." The soldier looked shocked. He didn't reply. Lyra was stunned. "Who are you?" The human's face turned pale. "I was part of Project Aegis. Years ago, I helped build this place and that thing." The creature roared. The bunker shook again. Rocks fell from the ceiling. The creature lunged, but not at the human, at Lyra. The soldier jumped forward and tackled it. "Run!" he shouted. Lyra ran, but only a few feet. She turned back. He was wrestling the monster, trying to push it back into the dark. His gun clattered to the floor near her feet. She had a choice. She picked it up, shaking, confused, terrified. But she aimed. Bang! The bullet hit the creature's shoulder. It shrieked. The human punched it and rolled away. "Move!" he yelled. They ran together back toward the main chamber. The door was still sealed shut, but the tremors had cracked part of the wall. The soldier charged and slammed his shoulder into it. A crack, then another. Together, he and Lyra pushed. The wall collapsed. Light poured in. Fresh air. But the creature wasn't far behind. They escaped into the ruins once more, coughing from dust. But now, everything had changed. Lyra looked at the human, this stranger who had risked his life for her. "Twice?" she asked softly. "Who are you really?" He looked back. "I'm someone trying to fix what we broke." The beast within the dark. The ruins were quiet again. Too quiet. Lyra and the human soldier walked carefully, every step echoing over broken glass and ash. Her eyes scanned the shadows. The monster, whatever it was, had vanished into the darkness, behind them. But they both knew it wasn't over. Not yet. The human touched the side of his helmet. "Command, do you read?" Static. No response. The storm above them must have blocked the signal. He sighed. "We need to keep moving." Lyra followed without speaking. Her mind was full of questions, but one was loudest. What was that thing, and why did it call him A9? After an hour of moving through the ghost city, they reached a collapsed structure that used to be a control tower. The soldier climbed up to try and boost his signal. Lyra stayed below. While she waited, she noticed something in the dust, an old, torn banner half buried in rubble. She pulled it free. The symbol on it was not alien, it was human, but not the Earth emblem. This one had a black triangle with 3 circles inside. Her eyes widened. That symbol, she had seen it before. As a child, on the armor of the soldiers who raided her village, the night her parents disappeared. Her claws tightened on the fabric. She looked up at the human soldier, still trying to fix his comms. Could it be true? Was he part of that? Suddenly she heard a whisper, not with her ears but inside her mind. "Lyra." She turned fast. No one was there. The wind blew. Her heartbeat quickened. Then, a red glow shimmered from beneath the rubble. She followed it slowly. Behind a cracked wall hidden in the shadows stood a second creature, smaller than the first, but its eyes, burning red, met hers. "Do you want the truth?" it said in her native tongue. Lyra froze. It stepped closer. "They made us, from your kind, spliced your DNA, built weapons using your people." Lyra stepped back. "No, you lie." "I remember your mother," it hissed. She screamed while they cut her. Suddenly, boom, the human soldier dropped. Beside her, gun raised. "What is that?" The creature turned to him. "You don't recognize your own work, A9? He fired. The shot missed. The creature vanished into smoke. Gone. They hid inside the remains of an old base that night. It was cold. Quiet. But inside her chest, Lyra's heart was burning. She stared at the soldier. "You lied." He looked at her, calm but tired. "What do you mean?" She held up the torn banner. "This is the mark. My village. Your people came. Took them." His voice was heavy. "I was there." Lyra took a step back, eyes full of fire. "You were one of them?" He nodded. "Yes. But I didn't know what we were doing at first. I followed orders." "You destroyed families," she whispered. "You destroyed mine." He looked down. "I know." There was silence. Painful. Long. Then he said something that caught her off guard. "I left the program when I saw what we'd become. I escaped." They marked me as a traitor. That's why I'm here. Not by choice. Lyra didn't know what to believe. But one thing was clear. The monster called him A9, and he didn't deny it. Later that night they heard it again. The same whisper. Lyra, he will betray you. Just like before. She clutched her head. The voice was too loud now. Inside her thoughts. Inside her blood. The soldier grabbed her shoulders. What's wrong? She screamed. Make it stop. Then, everything went black. When she woke up, she was lying on a cold floor. The soldier was standing near the door holding his gun but not pointing it at her. He spoke softly. It wasn't you. That thing, it got inside your mind. She sat up slowly. Her hands were shaking. He continued. These creatures, they were designed to read memories, twist them. That's how they hunt, not with claws and with guilt. Lyra stared at him. Her voice cracked. Then why is my guilt real? He looked at her, his own pain showing. Because so is mine. They sat in silence after that. No more blame. No more lies. Only truth. Lyra knew she could leave. Escape. Try to find others. But she didn't. She stayed. Because now both of them were hunted. Not just by a creature, but by the sins of the past, and they had only one chance to survive it. Together. The soldier's secret. Morning never really came. The sky above Valthara was always gray now, thick with dust and smoke from endless battles. Lyra sat near a broken window, her knees pulled close, staring at the fog outside. The human soldier, still nameless to her, sat across the room, sharpening a small blade. His rifle leaned against the wall. They hadn't spoken in hours, but both were thinking the same thing. What was real? And what was still a lie? Finally, she broke the silence. Her voice was quiet but sharp. What was Project Aegis? The soldier looked up. He had expected this question, but he had hoped it would come later. Now he had no choice. He set the blade down, took a breath, and spoke. Aegis was a black operation, secret, buried. It started as a peacekeeping plan, monitor threats, use technology to protect planets. He paused. His eyes darkened. But things changed. The leaders wanted more. They began testing weapons. Genetic ones. They used captured alien DNA. Your species was the first. Lyra's hands curled into fists. You used us. Yes, he said, and I followed orders. I didn't ask questions. You were a coward. I was a soldier. She stood. You helped create monsters. He nodded slowly. I know. She walked to him, tears forming. You destroyed my home, my family. He looked at her with eyes full of pain. I remember. There was a girl, hiding in the rubble. She had blue skin and silver eyes. She looked at me, just like you do now. Lyra froze. Her mouth opened, but no words came. He continued. I was told to mark that zone for clearance, but I couldn't do it. I told command the area was empty. I lied. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, broken data crystal. He placed it gently in her hands. I took this from your village the day I left. I always meant to return it. She activated it. A soft light glowed. A hologram appeared, blurry, old. It showed a woman, blue-skinned, smiling, holding a child in her arms. Lyra dropped to her knees. It's my mother, she whispered. The soldier sat beside her. I didn't save her, he said. But I tried to stop it. That's why they locked me out. That's why I was sent to this war zone. No backup, no return. Lyra looked at him through tears. Then why save me now? He answered, without hesitation, because I couldn't save you then. Suddenly, the device on his wrist lit up. Warning beeps. Lyra jumped to her feet. What is it? He stared at the screen. Something's moving. Fast. They grabbed their gear and moved outside. The fog was thicker now, and silent. Too silent. Then came the scream. Not human. Not alien. Something else. They ran through a narrow alley. The ground shook with every step the creature took behind them. Its roar echoed across the ruined buildings. They reached an old tunnel entrance, half buried. The soldier kicked it open. Inside. They slipped through just as a claw scraped the edge of the tunnel entrance. Darkness swallowed them again. They moved slowly, light from the soldier's visor cutting through the black. Lyra whispered, "Is it following us?" He nodded. It never stopped. They reached a chamber filled with machines, dead consoles, broken screens. Suddenly, Lyra gasped. On the far wall was a massive symbol, the same one from the torn banner. Black triangle. 3 circles. This was a lab, she said. This is where they made it. The soldier looked around. Where? They made all of it. One console sparked. Still alive. He touched it. A file appeared, audio only. A voice played, cold, commanding. Unit A9 failed. Subject 43 escaped. Containment protocol broken. If A9 survives, eliminate. No recovery. Lyra looked at him. That was about you, he nodded, and about the creature. Subject 43, he sighed. It was the final test. A hybrid, human design, alien instincts, perfect hunter. It was too dangerous. They tried to shut it down, but it escaped, and it remembers us. And it wants revenge. On both of us, he said. For different reasons. Suddenly the wall behind them cracked. The creature emerged, eyes burning red, teeth dripping. It spoke again, this time louder, its voice a mix of hate and sorrow. A9. And the girl who survived. How poetic. Lyra raised her weapon, but it smiled. You carry your mother's courage, it said. Her heart stopped. How do you know her? I don't just remember her, the beast said. I carry her blood. Lyra stepped back. No. The soldier raised his rifle. It's lying. But Lyra froze. The creature moved closer, slowly. Part of me is you, built from her DNA. And now I will finish what your kind started. Before it could leap, the soldier fired. The shot hit its chest, but it didn't fall. It laughed. You gave me pain, it said. Now I give it back. It vanished into smoke again. Gone, but not far. Lyra stood shaking. The soldier placed a hand on her shoulder. We have to end this, he said. Not just for us, for everyone. Lyra nodded, her voice barely a whisper. I'll help you. But after this, we are not friends. He didn't argue, because deep down, he agreed. When memories burn. The rain finally came, but it wasn't peaceful. It was black, mixed with ash and the filth of war. It fell over Valthara like poison, soaking the ground in silence. Lyra sat beneath the twisted bones of a fallen ship, staring into the distance. Her body was still, but her mind was burning. The monster said it carried her mother's blood. The soldier had helped create it, and now they wanted her to fight beside him. She didn't know who she hated more, the beast, or the man who called himself A9. He sat across from her, watching her carefully. He hadn't spoken since the creature vanished. He knew she was breaking inside, and maybe, he thought, she should. I didn't ask to be saved, she finally said. He nodded. I know. I didn't ask for your truth. I still gave it. Her voice rose. You helped make that thing. You helped kill my family. Yes, he said. But I'm trying to stop it now. Her hands trembled. Do you think that erases everything? No, he said softly. It never will. Suddenly her eyes lit up. She grabbed the gun from his side. He didn't move. He didn't even flinch. If you want to shoot me, he said, do it. Tears rolled down her face, but her hand, shaking, wouldn't pull the trigger. She dropped the weapon and fell to her knees. I hate you. He nodded. You should. They moved on that night, through broken bridges and underground tunnels, following signals from the last known human outpost, but it wasn't safety they found. It was memories. Inside the ruined facility, they found rows of tanks, glass chambers filled with old biosamples and digital logs. One of them was marked Subject 43, Active, DNA Source. Match, Lyrana. Lyra stepped closer. Lyrana was her mother's name. She touched the glass. Inside, the tank was nothing but black fluid now, empty, but the data was still there. She pressed a button. A hologram flickered. Her mother's face appeared. Young, alive. She was speaking to the scientists, angry, afraid. You said it was for peace. But you're making killers. My child will not be part of this. The recording ended with her screaming and then darkness. Lyra stumbled back. The soldier caught her before she fell. I didn't know she fought back. He whispered. Lyra's voice broke. They used her. Like a tool. And me, he said, like a weapon. Suddenly, alarms echoed through the base. Motion detected. Something was coming. The lights flickered. And then, the beast arrived. Subject 43 stepped through fire and smoke, its body steaming with heat. Its eyes burned with fury and grief. You found her, it said. You found the truth. Lyra stood up. No longer crying, no longer confused. You were made from her, she said. The creature nodded. And forgotten like her, we are the same. No, Lyra replied. You kill without mercy. I was born in pain. She raised her weapon. So was I. The soldier fired first, blasting the creature back through a wall, but it didn't fall. It roared and leapt, smashing consoles and shattering glass. Lyra rolled under a fallen beam and grabbed a metal spear. The battle began. Steel against claws. Light against shadows, but even together they were not strong enough. The creature pinned the soldier. Its claws pierced his armor. He screamed in pain. Lyra screamed too, but this time in rage. She jumped forward and stabbed the creature in the side. It howled and turned to her. You choose him over me? She stared into its eyes. I choose what's right. Then she pulled the trigger of the spear. Hidden inside was a charge pack. The explosion ripped through the room. The monster flew back, crashing into a burning tank. It screamed once more and vanished into black mist. Gone. For now. Lyra ran to the soldier. He was bleeding badly. She tore open his armor and tried to stop the wound. He coughed, his face pale. Did we win? She looked around. It ran. We're still breathing. That's enough. He smiled. You saved me. She stared at him. You're not worth saving. He closed his eyes. Then why did you? She didn't answer, because she didn't know. Later that night, while the fire crackled and smoke rose into the sky, Lyra stood watch. She was tired, not in her body, but in her soul. She had fought the beast, fought her own hate, and for now, she had survived both. But deep down she knew the real battle wasn't over, because memories never die. They burn, redemption through fire. Smoke twisted through the broken hallways of the lab. Everything burned, the tanks, the machines, the lies, and somewhere in that smoke, the creature was still alive. Lyra stood beside the human soldier, holding the only working rifle left. His armor was cracked. His blood still leaked from the side of his neck, but he stood tall. I can buy you time, he said. No, she replied, steady. We end this together. His eyes met hers. For the first time there was no anger between them, only truth. They moved through the lower levels of the base. The emergency lights flickered red, pipes hissed. The heat was rising fast. The entire structure would collapse soon. But they had one mission left, kill Subject 43. They followed the trail of destruction, the path the creature had taken deeper into the earth. Dead consoles, smashed drones, melted walls. Lyra stepped over a symbol drawn in blood. It was her mother's name. She didn't flinch. She just gripped the weapon tighter. Finally, they reached the central chamber. It was a wide, dark space filled with glowing tubes and flickering holograms. In the center stood the beast, taller now, pulsing with energy. It turned as they entered. "You followed me into the fire." Lyra stepped forward. "You were never running," she said. "You were waiting." The creature nodded. "This is where I was born. It is where I must end." The soldier raised his sidearm. "Then let's end it." But the creature didn't attack. Not yet. It looked at Lyra with strange sorrow. "You are stronger than I was." She would be proud. Lyra's voice cracked. "You don't know her." "I remember her screams," it said. "They are burned into me." The human aimed his weapon again. "Enough talking." Lyra stopped him. "Let me," she whispered. She stepped forward. "Alone." The beast watched her carefully. "I wanted to hate you," Lyra said. "But you were made from pain, like me." The creature blinked. "Then why fight me?" "Because pain doesn't give us the right to hurt others." It smiled, sad and wide. "She speaks like her mother." Then it roared and charged. The battle was chaos. Fire exploded from pipes. Debris fell like rain. The creature moved faster than ever, slashing, leaping, vanishing. The soldier shot round after round. Lyra ran beneath the fire, rolled, and stabbed with a plasma blade. Sparks flew. The creature struck the human in the chest. He flew across the room. Lyra screamed and fired again, right into the beast's eye. It roared and stumbled. She jumped on its back and stabbed deep, once, twice, 3 times. Then, silence. The creature fell to its knees, breathing hard. Glowing blood poured from its wounds. "You were meant to join me," it whispered. She leaned close. "I choose who I become, not you." She placed the final charge against its chest, then stepped away. It looked up one last time. "Thank you." The blast lit up the room. Everything went white, then dark, then silence. She woke to the sound of fire and sirens. The roof was gone, the walls broken, and beside her, barely breathing, was the human soldier. He was alive, but only just. She pulled him from the wreckage, dragging him up a slope toward the outer ruins. Every step was pain. Her own body bled, her vision blurred, but she didn't stop. Not until they reached sunlight. A small human scout ship landed nearby, drawn by the explosion. Lyra watched as 2 medics ran toward them. They didn't point weapons. They didn't shout orders. They lifted the soldier onto a stretcher. He grabbed her hand before they pulled him away. "Why didn't you leave me?" he asked, his voice weak. She looked into his eyes. Her voice was steady. "Because this time I was the one who couldn't walk away." Hours later, Lyra stood alone at the edge of the ruins. She looked at the scorched sky and the broken earth. She held 2 things in her hand: her mother's data crystal and the human's dog tag. She closed her eyes and let the wind carry away the ash. Redemption was not a word. It was a choice, and she had made hers. She opened her eyes. The war was quiet now. The smoke had faded. The machines were silent. The last of the fires had turned to cold ash, and Lyra stood at the edge of it all. Alive. Changed. It had been 3 days since the final battle. The human soldier, A9, was still in recovery. His body had survived, but his future was uncertain. High Command had taken him into custody. They said he might face charges. Lyra wasn't surprised. To them, he was a traitor. To her, he was both enemy and savior, a soldier and a shadow. She still hadn't decided what he truly was. She stood in front of the council dome. now rebuilt by both humans and aliens together. For the first time in history, both species shared the same space, spoke the same words. They called it the Unity Table. And today, Lyra had been invited to speak, not as a witness, but as a survivor. She stepped onto the platform, facing dozens of leaders, human, alien, hybrid. She wore simple clothes, no armor, no weapons, but around her neck was the broken data crystal, and in her hand, the soldier's dog tag. She took a breath and began. "I was born during war," she said. "I never saw peace. I never knew it was real. Humans came to my world. They brought fire and fear. They destroyed what I loved. I should have hated them forever." She paused. Eyes across the room watched her. But then I met one. A soldier. He did not save my people. He did not erase my pain, but he made a choice, one that changed everything. She held up the tag. He chose to protect me, to fight what he helped create, to stand in the fire and never run. She looked around. "You want to know if peace is possible?" She smiled faintly. "I don't know, but I know choice is, and that's where peace begins." The room was silent for a long moment. Then one by one they stood and clapped. Not loud, not wild, but honest, respectful. Lyra stepped down from the stage and walked outside. The wind was soft today, not like the howling storms she once ran through. She sat under a metal tree in the Unity Garden, a place where both human and alien plants grew side by side. Children played nearby. Alien, human, together, laughing, not afraid. Lyra closed her eyes. Just for a moment, letting it all settle inside her. A voice broke the calm. "You looked like you were dreaming." She opened her eyes. The human soldier stood before her, limping, bruised, but alive. He smiled weakly. "Did I miss your speech?" She stood slowly, unsure how to feel. "No," she said. "You came at the end." He nodded. "I heard you mentioned me." She held out the tag. "I said you made a choice." He didn't take it back. "I don't deserve it," he said. "Neither did I," she replied. "But I lived." They sat together in silence. No need to speak. Not today. Later that evening, as the sun began to set, Lyra walked alone toward the memorial wall, names carved in stone, glowing gently. She placed her mother's crystal on the base, then whispered in her native tongue, "Your voice wasn't lost. I carry it now." She turned to leave, but something caught her eye. A small blinking device tucked in the corner of a nearby stone, just like the one the soldier once wore. She picked it up. It blinked once, then projected a map. Only one signal. Far, away, hidden deep in the mountains. It pulsed red. She narrowed her eyes and whispered, "It's not over." She opened her eyes fully now and walked into the shadows, ready, not for revenge, but for whatever came next. Because the galaxy had finally learned something. You should never underestimate what happens when a human and a survivor fight side by side.